the St. John's Medical College Alumni Association. Love it or hate it, hype it or downplay it, but there is just no ignoring the role of artificial intelligence in healthcare today. And with this purpose in mind, on behalf of the St. John's Medical College Alumni Association, we are very, very fortunate today to be conducting a webinar. This was sort of a brainchild of a conversation between Dr. Mehika, consultant dermatologist and communication secretary of the association, and myself, Dr. Nitin Yeshas. And we have put together a very short, crisp program with some of the stalwarts of AI in healthcare in the country. And this program is not going to be a theoretical program. It is going to be a program where we are going to give you more of practical related, experience related information about how to use AI in sort of a day-to-day life as a healthcare professional, in the clinic, in the hospital, and also more importantly, really understand what do we mean by AI. And more importantly, let us be very, very clear that with the new DPDP Act, which has come in, we also discuss about the ethics and the privacy issues surrounding AI. So this is going to be the focus of day one today. Day two is going to be more interesting. We are going to have talks on AI with research and publication. We are going to talk about how can a medico use Notebook LM to the best of its potential. And more importantly, can a doctor look at AI as a full stream career potential? And even for that, we are going to be joined by some very, very phenomenal people. I'd now like to request Dr. Mehika on behalf of the St. John's Alumni Association to welcome our speakers for today who are going to lead this session.
Good evening. On behalf of St. John's Medical College Alumni Association, our President Dr. Robert Anthony, and the rest of the Alumni Association, I would like to invite both our faculty on board. These are our lead faculty and our experts in AI from across the country. First, we have Dr. Avneesh Khare. Do we have Dr. Avneesh with us? Yes, we have Dr. Avneesh Khare, and we have Dr. Avneesh Khare and Dr. Jaideep Jason Rayapudi. Dr. Avneesh Khare is a clinician turned med AI educator, advisor, and researcher. He is also certified on Google and Gemini as an educator and faculty. Dr. Jaideep Jason Rayapudi is a digital health consultant, clinical AI advisor, and a medical education strategist. He is instrumental in preparing healthcare for the AI era. Welcome on board. We now hand over the session to Dr. Jaideep.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Dr. Jaideep. Just would like to again tell our viewers that these are some of the stalwarts in AI in healthcare. We are very grateful for them accepting this invitation from us, and they've run some fantastic courses for many years across the country. Dr. Avneesh is modestly saying that we are also learners and enthusiasts, and that really shows the humility. And of course, if only we are learners, would we keep excelling ourselves and upgrading ourselves as doctors. Would just like to check if Dr. Anthony Robert, the president of the Alumni Association, would be able to join us for a minute to say a few words. George, if you could add him. All right, we will come back to that at the end of the day. So for the next 1 hour or so, over to Dr. Jaideep and Dr. Avneesh to take you through a fantastic experience. And at the end of their talks, we are going to be joined by two other very special people who are going to share real life examples of how they've used AI in their clinical workflow. Over to Dr. Jaideep and Dr. Avneesh.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you so much, St. John's Alumni Association. It's really a privilege. It's a responsibility I feel to bring this session to you. Yes, we have been dabbling and we have been learning and we have been talking a lot about AI in the last few years, Avneesh and me. I have been taking this journey for quite some time, having spent uh, 2 decades in medical colleges teaching physiology, right? And but I did start my journey as a doctor in a village in Punjab, in remote Punjab, in on the border with Pakistan. And I know, I've been there, right? So I've been there. I know what it feels like, and you see the world sort of passing by, and you're wondering what's happening. So I didn't want that to happen to anyone. So here we are. We'll be talking about AI. We don't want this to be. Let me see how to present this. Yeah. Okay. So, uh, can you like put it up? The deck zero. Yeah, it's up. So, sorry, the other one. The other one. Yeah. We'll come to this. We'll come to this. So we will have to talk something about law and all that things as well. But yeah, so welcome. This is for the rural healthcare practitioner, and if you're live and listening to this, great. But even if you're listening to a recording later on, you will realize that we are not going to talk very technical stuff. We are not data scientists. We are MBBS guys, just like you people, and we want to make it very relevant and very, uh, sort of relatable to you, right? So, how we are going to do today is we just want to talk. Avneesh will lead us into this, what AI actually is, right, and what it is not. So, for many people, the whole concept of AI is like this is the magic tool which will do everything. We'll also talk about some of the tools that you can use right now. uh, we are obviously connected digitally right now, so which means that you have some access to internet, you have some access to digital tools, which basically means you are then able to be connected to the internet. I want to come back and talk to you about certain governance, right, issues, ethical issues. And till about 6 months, it was enough to talk about ethics and all that. But now there are certain laws which have come. And we are obviously, we want question answers, and that's the only way we are going to learn. So, again, remember, this is not a tech lecture. We don't want to talk about any coding, no snakes, pythons, anacondas here. Uh, and those who get it will get that. So we don't want to use any jargon. This is only for practicing people. We want to give tools and examples which are specific to Indian healthcare practice, right? So a lot of AI is developed in the West and tuned to American healthcare systems, but we want to take it down to where you are. This is for a two-way conversation. Of course, tomorrow we'll have a much more time and deeper conversations, but please do get your comments coming in. I think that will be the only way we can communicate, and I think Nitin will get back to us with those comments, and we will take it there. And as Nitin also said that, will AI affect my career? Will AI take away my job? Will I lose my job because of AI? Or should I get into uh, a career where AI is the main thing and not my clinical practice? These are some things which we want to address as well, because those are genuine questions I'm sure you must be having, right? So, yeah, AI is not coming for your stethoscope right now. It's coming to sit beside you while you use it. And I'll be handing over to Avneesh for the next section, and have fun, guys. Dr. Avneesh, please take it.
Yeah. So before I share my screen, so yeah. So first of all, I would like to thank St. John's Medical Alumni Association for reaching out and having this idea, and for inviting us for this kind of an activity. It's really awesome to be talking to people who are working and making real difference at the ground level, grassroots level, I would say, in the rural practice. And as Dr. Jaideep told you, our idea is not to overwhelm you with theory or to talk some kind of imaginary things in AI. We are going to be very grounded and talk to you and tell you what you can do right now. Like, it's just after this webinar, what do you do at 9 o'clock? This is going to be our focus. We'll be showing you a lot of things. Some things you can go back and see in the recording and then try it. But I guess this is going to be fun. So I'll just share my screen. And it's going to be entire screen because I'm going to take you to browser sometime. So just bear with me. And I hope my screen is visible. Okay, so let's get started. So this is the first kind of the lecture in the series. So we have 3 talks today, and then we have a live demo, and then tomorrow we have again few presentations, especially the practical ones. How do you use AI in research and notebook LM, and then finally a panel discussion on career in healthcare. But everything, I think, starts with the basics. We know a lot of you have been using AI, and we took a survey from all of you, like how many are actually using AI, and I guess majority of you, like 66%, answered that you are using AI. So I'm very happy to see that. But for the remaining 33%, just to get them with us, so that we are all on the same page as a group. So I'll be taking you through the basics in the next 15 minutes, and just if you have already read about this, it will be a nice revision of the concepts. Okay, so as Dr. Jaideep said, he has been there and he has worked in rural healthcare. I have been like a visitor to rural healthcare center, but I've never worked. I'll be very honest. I was preparing for NEET after my MBBS, and we didn't have a rural bond or something like that, even after our post graduation. So I don't have the experience of real world rural healthcare, but of course I have been seeing patients. I have run a pain practice, chronic pain practice, so people come from rural background. So I know these problems. They actually exist. Like most of the population of India lives in rural places, right? Like 70%. This is again, like maybe it might be 80% also. So we are two kinds of India within the same country. Like there's an urban and tier 1, tier 2 city kind of India, and then there's rural India. And I think we need to look at the problems of both and design solutions for both. Again, the doctor-patient ratio, this is again a very debatable kind of metric, but if you try to see it separately from rural and urban perspective, you will see that it gets skewed further when you are going to the rural area. And like even in places, I think this ratio would even be more worse. This is just an average. So maybe it might be even 1:50,000 or 1:60,000 in some rural areas of India. And you can see how much patients have to travel just to reach a specialist. I used to hear stories of some very very big doctors in India from cardiology, and just to get their appointment and to just get a prescription revised, the person used to take a leave from their like daily labor job and then travel in a bus, then in a train, and then again in a bus, and spend whole day for that 5-minute encounter with the doctor. So I think these problems are the reality of rural healthcare in India, and we have to accept it and then design accordingly and talk accordingly. We cannot just ignore these things, because this is what we actually have in our hands. And what me and Dr. Jaideep both believe is that AI is going to act as a bridge, and it's not going to replace the doctors in rural areas anytime soon. It's not going to happen. But definitely, we healthcare professionals delivering care at the grassroots level, we are definitely going to feel empowered, augmented, and our reach is going to be extended if we are able to do it in a correct way. So the topic of the talk is what is AI and what it is not. So let us start with what it is not, because there are a lot of misconceptions around AI, even among daily users who are using AI on a daily basis. So what AI is not? First, it is not a robot that will replace us. So many times when you Google AI in healthcare, you will see the image of a nice robot who is treating patients or doing surgery, and there will be a label AI on top of it. So that is not exactly what is AI. We'll see in the next slides what it is, how to define it, how to understand it. But definitely, it's some kind of a tool as of now. The day and date which we are talking right now, it's only a support tool for you, which is going to help you, and you are going to remain in charge no matter how good it becomes at the diagnosis or whatever it is suggesting, because ultimately you are going to take the decision, and someone has to take the liability part, right? The robot is not ready to take it as of now. Okay, so that is myth number one. And then there's a big myth that something called automation bias, where when you're using especially generative AI tools, they are designed to make you feel better and they are designed to make you feel correct. And then you develop a habit that, okay, AI knows everything and whatever it tells me is right. This is another big myth, and expert users definitely know, and they have seen that AI can make mistakes, and you cannot rely 100% on whatever generative AI gives out to you. So you have to always check things, or at least be at the last step of the decision making loop, so that you can at least override it. So that is very important. Then, as I told you, only AI designing for big hospital and cities is not going to solve problems for India. And we can't talk about fancy tools which need a lot of data and a lot of computing power and a lot of infrastructure, and then talk about rural AI, healthcare AI. It has to be designed for context, for the situation, and even ability to work in a smartphone, which I believe that is why generative AI has become so popular, right? Because anyone can use it on their mobile phone anywhere in the world at any point of time, and this is how technology gets democratized and used in a better way. And finally, it's not science fiction. This is not an academic lecture, and things are already happening out there. There are many government programs which are in pilot stage, and some are of course, in deployment and scale up stage, which are using AI, actual AI, and not just the generative AI part of it. And as time passes on, you will see more and more of this. So the better you understand it, and those of you who have come to this webinar to understand it, I congratulate all of you, because you have taken the first step. So this is going to definitely help you clear your misconceptions, and as Dr. Nitin told in the beginning, so fear it or hype it, or means like it, don't like it, it's definitely going to impact your lives. So let us learn from that mindset. And finally, one big myth, I think I just want to clear this at the outset, because this is one question which I get a lot, is do you need to be a coder to work in AI? Because, I understand, we medical professionals, many of us, not all of us, I sort of ran from maths, right? Means I had an option of both maths and bio, but I chose bio because I had a feeling that I'm not good in maths. And although it was a mental block, and when I did my MBA, I realized that I scored the maximum in quantitative analysis. And that is where my AI journey began, which I will share with you tomorrow as part of the career panel. So believe me, being coder is just only one part of AI if you want to land in a particular role. But as a medical professional, your most important expertise is medical expertise, and that is irreplaceable. You are working at the grassroots level, you are seeing the actual problems, you are actually facing things, you are making decisions. I think that is the biggest superpower that is needed to work with any kind of AI as of now. This is the subject matter expertise, if you can say. That is your biggest superpower. So just put that out of your mind that you need to be a coder, and especially with generative AI tools now. And maybe in the next lecture after this, I'll show you a tool where you can just put your idea, and then the coding is done by the tool. So you don't need to know coding as much, but it's always desirable if you know coding, if you enjoy coding, if you understand coding, it's always a plus. I'm not saying that you should not learn it. You should always try to learn new things, but it's not needed. Okay, so if someone asks me explain AI in one slide, so this is one slide which I will show them, and you can see that there are 4 things in this pyramid. Just focus on the left side, this pyramid with 4 layers, and you can see there's a data at the bottom. So this gives a message that everything starts with data. And by data, I mean digital data. And of course, we'll be discussing the implications of digital data and privacy, liability, all those things in talk with Dr. Jaideep. But this is needed. Without this digital data, you cannot have any kind of AI. And whatever tools you are using nowadays and seeing today, ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, Claude, all these are built on some kind of data layer. Okay, and very large data layer, which is why they are called large language models. They are trained on large amounts of text, and then what they have done is they have added a layer of analysis, processing, context. When a model is trained, it is going through multiple iterations. It is trying to understand the language, what it means, and then gradually it becomes smarter and it moves up this pyramid. And the process to move up this pyramid from data to information to knowledge to wisdom the process is called learning, and the ability to do this is called intelligence. And if you are seeing very closely, this is what we human beings also do as clinicians on a daily basis, right? In our rounds, what do? We collect data, we see what was there in the patient chart, then we convert it into knowledge and wisdom with our experience and some kind of knowledge which we have gained. And that is how we learn, right? So if a machine is doing this, it is called machine learning. If a human is doing this, is called human learning. So AI ultimately just helps you turn data into knowledge and wisdom, and it is guided by context. And that is why context becomes very important, and that is why your context is different from a context of a clinician working in a corporate hospital in a big city. And that is where context matters, right? So just example on the right side, the table, how you move up from data to wisdom. So just if I tell you 7, it means nothing to you, it's just data. But if I give you the units, then it becomes information, and then you add your knowledge on top of it, and then you take a decision which shows your wisdom. Okay, so next time if someone asks you what is AI, so I hope you will remember this slide. And even during these 2 days, we'll have a lot of discussion on data. So just keep coming back to this image for reference. So just to define, because we like defining things. So AI is some kind of a software. So there are 2 things, software, hardware. So definitely AI is somewhere, I would say, in between now, because it's now going into cyber physical kind of a environment. But ultimately AI, it was built as a software. And what it does is it learns patterns from data. We feed lot of data to it. It learns patterns. It builds its understanding. Then we add context on top of it, and then it starts making predictions, answering questions, writing what it is writing on ChatGPT, Gemini, and all this happens in the similar way. Small tweaks are there in different kind of models, but ultimately this is what they do. They learn from data, they recognize the patterns, and then ultimately they help us in completing our tasks, which might be supporting our decisions, helping us flag the risks, whatever. There are different kind of use cases. So AI basically helps you to see what you have been missing. And this is one more diagram which you have to keep in your mind. So I don't want to overwhelm you. So I just kept 2 slides with diagrams which you need to learn. This is AI. This is the whole domain, the bigger circle. Within this whole domain, there's something called machine learning, which I discussed, which is a way of developing AI. So there are many ways of developing AI. One of the ways is to push too much of data to the algorithm and let it learn. So that is called machine learning. Within machine learning, now we have advanced systems which are called deep learning, and they resemble our human brain in the form of neural networks. and it is very difficult to understand these what is happening inside. So that is why they are also called black box model. So this is a temporal. We are proceeding from machine learning to deep learning to generative AI. Now, the tools which we'll show you during these 2 days, Notebook, LM, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, all this comes under the latest form of AI, which is generative AI. And this generative AI is also an advanced form of deep learning, which is a form of machine learning, and which is a way of building artificial intelligence. So you can use this diagram to also understand the relationship between different terms. When you are reading papers or something, you will come across all these terms. So now you will understand what they mean. Generative AI can do well. So since our focus is generative AI now, because that is what you can use right now after this webinar. If I tell you, you have to first collect all your data, then you have to build a model, then you have to test and validate it, and then use it. I don't think that is practical for you, right? It's for an AI lab to build, but generative AI can help you right after this webinar, and these are the tasks which it can help you. We'll see some of these in the next talk. But this is what it is very good at, and this solves a lot of problems for us, especially for you in a rural context, rural area context. I think most of the times you are working alone, and you have a lot of tasks to complete. I think if something you can do with generative AI, I think that can make your life a bit easier. So if you ask me, sorry. So if you ask me to classify how you will see AI in medicine as a professional, how you will encounter it, you will encounter it in these 3 buckets. Either your AI will be embedded into your device. So maybe you might get a smart CT scanner, which is having embedded AI in itself. Or you might be getting some kind of early risk detection model built into your some kind of electronic medical record. And these two are, I don't feel you're going to have much exposure in the rural context, but definitely in your lifetime, you're going to see these things, and they will also go down into the rural ecosystem with time as they are developed, edge AI devices. But you will be seeing more and more of generative AI. And the most common application nowadays is to streamline the documentation. More applicable to the Western context because they have a lot of electronic medical records, but even we can tweak and use it to help in our documentation processes. Just like, for example, writing referral letters is one of the examples I will be showing you. So you have to keep these 3 buckets in your mind, and whenever you see an AI use case, you have to just try to put it into one of these 3 buckets so that you understand it better. Your question will be how it fits into my practice as a rural professional. So right now it can help you in making better clinical decisions, help you, not making clinical decisions for you. It can help you in improving your clinical decisions, improving your point of care delivery. In a way, it can act as your co-pilot. It can help you improve your documentation and your efficiency of documentation, in fact, and speed of documentation to improve all these things. Even if you are writing on a pen and paper, if you have some kind of a draft in front of you, which is built from some kind of a voice capture, I think that makes life still easier than memorizing in your brain and then writing and then missing something. So this is something which it can help you. And also triage and refer, because a lot of this happens at the periphery where you have to triage and refer at the right point of time. So if you have some kind of a co-pilot help, I think this can be useful even for patients. I think this is the 3 things. And now I want to give you a thought that there are some things which AI can do good and some things which you can do better. So there you have to identify and understand that it's not AI versus human or AI or human. It's always AI plus human. And imagine like a senior colleague who has read every guideline, every journal, and is available at 3 a.m. in a village clinic. So, and they're looking over your shoulder and saying, have you considered this? I think this is how you should look at AI for yourself as a colleague, which is always available, never tired, and draws on a vast body of knowledge, but can make mistakes. And you have to apply your layer of this context and examining the patient and making the call. That is your responsibility. I think this is what I want to leave you with. The future of medicine is human plus AI. And as you move to the next talk, which is also mine only, I think we are on time. Key takeaways: AI is pattern recognition. It's not a magic. rural healthcare gap is real. Now you all, I don't need to tell you, like you will tell me that the gap is real, and AI is a practical tool to extend your reach and to augment you. And I think three main entry points are decision support, documentation, and triage. We'll see in the next talk. And this talk was a bit theory because that was foundational. This is going to act as a foundation for you over the next 2 days. And next one will be more interactive, more hands-on, more practical, more tools. We'll be talking about tools, which one to use, what to use, how to use. We'll have a short exercise in the end where you will also use those tools. So if you have a mobile phone and apps on your phone, so just keep it ready. I'll give you the prompts and then you can work with me. Okay, so I think, so do I move ahead to the next talk? Okay, so I'll stop sharing for a bit and hand it over to Nitin if there are questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Avneesh, for that wonderful sort of primer. I think if anyone sort of was looking at what AI is and how to really answer, I think that gives a good comprehensive outlook. As a context, I think every year more than 70 to 100 students from St. John's go out there and serve in the rural areas. And over the years, we have got enormous number of doctors, religious sisters serving to the underserved people of the country. And I think the upcoming talk is very important on what tools they would be able to use. So we have 2-3 questions which have come in right now. The one I think you have explained in detail, but if you can just sum up in 3-4 words, what is generative AI and what is the difference between generative AI and general AI?
So excellent question, Nitin. I was thinking to put a slide, but it's good someone asked it. So there, before 2022, when ChatGPT was released, so there was a different kind of AI which we were talking about, which was discriminative AI. So discriminative AI is good at two things: classification, like making the diagnosis where the patient falls in which category, or prediction, like how the patient will do in the next 24 to 48 hours. So these were the two kinds of AI which was being built in the lab using the same methodology, like data and then training it and then making predictions. But after 2022, we had ChatGPT, which is kind of generative AI advent moment, where now you can use AI to generate some kind of a text, image, and gradually it moved to multimodal. You can generate speech, you can generate music. So because it was generating things instead of predicting or classifying, so it was called generative AI, which is again not a proper term. It's a misnomer. It's like you can call it non-discriminative AI also. So, but generative AI became popular and now we call it generative AI. So all these tools, Notebook LM, Gemini, Claude, all these are generating some kind of thing based on our prompt. So that is why they are called generative AI. I hope this makes the distinction. So when you talk about AI, be clear what AI you are talking about: generative AI or the old form of, or the good old AI.
All right. The second question which is coming in is that how is AI, for example, let's say ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, different from a Google search, or let's say as a medico, if I use UpToDate to search something, how is AI going to be different from that? And should I be worried about hallucinations when we talk about AI? We come across a lot of papers or news articles saying that AI hallucinates. Can you just explain to us what does hallucination mean? And should I choose to use generative AI for my queries, or should I stick to traditional sources like UpToDate, which also say they are using AI now? So,
yes. So again, an excellent question. I think we have a very smart audience out here. I'm really happy. So I see, now go back to the diagram which I showed you, the AI, the machine learning, then deep learning, and then generative AI. So generative AI is some kind of a technology which is good at generating text. So how it generates text, it predicts the next word. Like if I give it a statement, it will complete it with the most probable next word. So what you have to understand is it's a probabilistic technology. It is not a deterministic technology. On the other hand, Google search, which we used to use before, that goes and crawls all the web pages. It makes an index and then it searches from it just like a librarian would search in a library for the book. So that is not making a probabilistic generation of text. It is giving a deterministic answer. So if you are running a Google search for the same query and a Gemini or Claude search for the same query, there's a difference. And that is why generative AI can hallucinate, while Google search is less likely to hallucinate. But advantage of generative AI is it will summarize everything for you. It will generate everything and summarize everything for you, and that is the attraction. But you have to be very careful. It can make errors because it is very good at predicting at the probability. So if it feels that this word is more probable in your next in your paragraph, it will just put it out and you will feel it's very real citation. But when you search on Google search, because Google search is deterministic, it will tell that no such study exists. So that is the difference between both of them. Both purpose is different of both technologies. But one more thing, if you add a layer of knowledge on back of this generative AI, which is called retrieval augmented generation, where the generative AI will first go and search, just like you would have searched in Google search from that guideline document or from that PubMed kind of a repository, and then give you an answer, then accuracy increases and hallucination rate comes down. So there are tools for that. There's Perplexity, Notebook LM, which you will show tomorrow. Those tools are better at doing this, like better, more closer to Google search environment and less hallucination.
Right, fantastic. I think the viewers can't wait to go to the next talk and for you to show and get some hands-on experience of what tools can they actually use in clinical practice.
Yes. So a disclaimer, of course, some tools are paid, some are free, some you might be having access to, some you might get a trial version, but definitely you should get an experience and you will be able to experience all those tools which I show you. So let's move on. Let me share my screen again, but before that, let me just open my presentation. Just give me a second. So yeah. So AI tools, share screen, entire screen. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now. Okay, so now let's move to the more practical part. And now once theory is clear and we understand what is AI, what is generative AI, what is machine learning, and all those things, and how is generative AI different from discriminative AI. So now you will understand that, okay, now the tools that we are talking about are falling into generative AI mostly, because that is where you can experience AI right now the most. Maybe in future, if you are working in a big setup, or maybe if these laboratories are going to pilot some things in the rural areas, you'll come to see those discriminative tools also. But you will be able to now understand the difference. But the purpose here is to actually get you started. So just a brief thing. It's always my teacher used to say, when you become a surgeon, you should know when to not do surgery. When you become a pain procedure specialist, you should know when not to do the pain procedure. That makes you a better doctor. So similarly, a better AI user will know when not to use AI. So these are some things which you should always be very careful. Never leave the final decisions to AI. Never put your patient's secure data into AI. By secure data, I mean their name, their phone number, their address, anything that can be personally identified with. But you can, of course, put like an elderly man, 55 years of age, smoker, having hypertension. These things you can put, but if you're putting the name, address, phone number, then that's not a good practice, because anything you put into these tools is ultimately going to the model and to the company, and it can again surface somewhere else. And with DPDP Act coming into the picture, with Dr. Jaideep will cover in the next talk, you will understand that implications are very severe. So be very careful. And finally, legal documentation. I know a lot of you have a lot of medical legal documents to prepare in the rural area. So please don't consider this as a legal expert. It's not a substitute for good legal advice. Always be in touch with your medical legal forensic medicine friends and take their expert opinion whenever you are in doubt. But as a first opinion, you can of course go to them, but don't take a final decision based on them. Just use for preliminary assistance. So this is like a slide, like in a when you go in a movie, they put the first disclaimer thing. No? So this is something like that. So like there's no relation to reality. It's all fictional. No. When not to use AI is very, very important. Okay. And second thing is you have to learn prompting. Now, prompting is an entire workshop in itself. And since I understand that most of you are using AI, like 66%, so you already are using AI and prompting AI. Prompting means giving instructions or giving some task to AI, like talking to someone to tell them a task, like you do with human colleagues. Similarly, but there are some rules to it. You have to define the role. For example, if you're asking for some kind of a cardiology opinion, you have to tell it that act like an expert cardiologist. Otherwise, it will not be able to give you very good answers. This is with experience. People have understood that if you tell a role, it gives a better answer because it's trained on large language. If you don't give it a role, it will go to its entire repository of knowledge and then come out with an answer which might be very generic. So this is one important tip. Role and context, very important. Always specify the task, be very specific. Longer prompts are not necessarily very good. A sweet spot is between 100 to 200 words to the max. And the task should be very clear and ask should be very specific. If you give ambiguous prompt, ambiguous answer will come. Always identify target audience, whether you are asking it for the patient, whether you are asking it for yourself, whether you are asking it for your colleague. Referral letter you are writing for a neurologist, for a dermatologist, for a cardiac surgeon, who you are writing for, that is very important. And format has to be mentioned. Also, you should also give constraints, like give me these much words, give me 400 words, 500 words. That's a good practice. Otherwise, it gives a very generic answer. Finally, always review, fact check, and refine. And meta prompting is something where you can use AI to generate prompt, which I will show you when I show you the demo now. So this is using AI to generate the prompt, because sometimes you forget all these rules. So it's always good to use AI to help you build a good prompt. Okay, this has already been emphasized, so I'll just skip this to this very important slide, which is potential liability. See, be very, very skeptical when AI is suggesting you to reject the standard of care or to follow a non-standard of care. These are the only two situations where if patient outcome is bad, you have injury and liability. Otherwise, there is no clear kind of clear-cut liability on you, because if you follow standard of care, you're already safe, right? Even if AI suggests a non-standard of care and patient outcome is bad, but you followed standard of care because of which the patient had bad outcome, you won't be liable in court of law because you followed standard of care. This is as of now, because AI still is not at that level where it can be looked at by rejecting standard of care. Okay, I hope you understand. Standard of care still is above AI as of now. And similarly, non-standard of care, if it is suggested by AI, even if you reject it with your clinical decision, with your clinical acumen, and if the patient has a bad outcome, you won't be liable that much because you followed standard of care and you rejected non-standard of care. So always be careful. So in every disease, in every treatment, in every condition, there's a standard of care. Just stick to that for now. And this paper you should read. You can take a screenshot, go to this QR code later on and read it. It's a very good guideline. So these are the two areas we'll be seeing: clinical decision support and work efficiency. We'll be seeing tools which can help you think better for clinical thing and for saving your time. I think these two things are the most important buckets in rural scenario where there's a lot of work and you are often alone. So these are some tools. Let us go through them one by one. Busy slide, but I have put everything on one slide. Like, all these tools are very good for helping you reaching a differential diagnosis, or as a clinical AI companion to form a kind of a think through a case in a very proper way, structured way, and also for clinical guidelines, because you are alone in the rural setup and you need access to clinical guidelines, and many of you are already using, as I could see from the question of Dr. Nitin, that some of you asked up to date how it is. So I'm hoping many of you are using up to date, and now they have added AI on top of it. And then again, of course, these vanilla tools which we have with us, which are multi-purpose kind of multi-purpose workers for us, the Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, they also you can use as AI clinical assistant. But let us see these tools. So Isabel is a tool which is it has a lot of solutions. One of them is a differential diagnosis companion. So you can log in, you can create a sign in. I created one, but my account finish the trial period. They give trial for like, I think 2 weeks or 4 weeks, and you can try the tool. And they also give good discounts for students and for early career physicians. So you can go and check this website. If you write Isabel DDX on Google, you'll get it. But what I want to show you is the interface. So here you just add age of patient, you add the gender, and then you add some more details. And I think now they have a text box to add some kind of a prompt. And then what it does is it gives you kind of a checklist and ranking of diseases, what it feels that this is the differential diagnosis. So in a situation where you're confused, or maybe when you are exhausted, or you are overwhelmed, I think this is one tool which can help you. There are now many such tools coming in. This is one example. I'm just giving you a theme, that this is the theme which is existing out there with AI. And there are some free tools also you can explore on your own. And also it gives you guidelines, recommendations, and the up-to-date kind of connection is also there in the background, which is evidence-based model. And also they fit into workflow. So if you are running some kind of a clinic with a simple EMR, you can they can give you a customized tool for you. Of course, not so cheap, but then I think you can see the pricing. There are institutional pricing, individual pricing. So when you go to individual pricing, you can go to this. There's discount. There's also emerging economy discount. So you can, if you like the tool, you can take the trial. It's for free. Again, disclaimer, I'm not promoting this tool, but just I used it. I liked it for teaching. Even if you're teaching your students, you can use this thing. This is a nice tool. Similarly, Glass Health. Glass Health is another tool which is built by a doctor. And this has now added ambient scribing. Ambient scribing means it will listen to what you're talking, and then it will convert it into a note, which then you can either put it in some kind of electronic medical record or send it to someone if you are sending it across a digital platform, of course, after removing the identifiers. Or also it can help you draft a differential diagnosis, which we saw in Isabel. And also it can help you think through the clinical question. So if I tell it that an elderly male patient, smoker, with productive cough and fever since 5 days, whatever, means I'm just putting it short for the sake of time. You can put whatever you want. You can add some documents if they are there. This is just a trial which you're seeing. This is again, you can buy a paid version, but this much demo is available to you. So even demo works sometimes. It's enough for us. So when you click it, it starts going and understands your query, and then it goes into the background, searches the medical literature. The beauty is that this tool is built on evidence based knowledge database. It's different from the routine ChatGPT and Gemini because it is going to real clinical guidelines, clinical background, and then also giving you citations from where it has pulled it out. So this is a very healthcare specific, clinical specific tool which you can use. And if you like it, then you can also take a subscription of it. It helps to think through the diagnostic evaluation. Okay, what are the tests that I should order? What is the empiric treatment I should start? What differential I should keep in mind? And you can chat with it, and you can add more context and get better answers. So this is one more tool. So I showed you two tools, Isabel and Glass Health. They have multiple functionalities. Some might be useful for you, some might not be. So you have to explore them on your own. So this is the two tools. I hope you didn't know about these tools at least. Up-to-date Dynamed, again, you need to have a subscription. These are two tools where you can go and look at the latest guidelines. And now what they have done is they have added a chatbot on top of it, AI chatbot, which helps you gain the knowledge in a faster way. And it helps to summarize it, as I told you, just like Google search with summarization feature. They have added to it, so it becomes more easy to use. And finally, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, we'll see now. These are also available, which you can use. But more use of these tools, I think, is for this purpose, which is documentation. Like you can take a voice note. You can record a voice note when you're talking with the patient, of course, with their consent. And if you're talking alone, it's fine. Maybe you are just summarizing the patient encounter, and then you are asking Gemini to convert it into a clinical note. this is another thing which you can do. Notebook LM, you can add some other documents also. Maybe the patient, you have made some notes about the patient, you can add that. You can just click a photo from your phone and add it as a document to Notebook LM and then talk to it and then create a better note. That is also possible. And tomorrow you will see Notebook LM in more detail. Ambient documentation, again, there's something called Scribe. Scribe is, again, here you can try it for free. Again, not promoting any tool. You can try it on WhatsApp also. So you just open that WhatsApp chat and you record your voice note, as you can see in the video which is playing here. So you just put it on your table and you start doing your work, and it converts everything from different languages. See, some of you might be working in different areas of India, so the advantage is it understands Indian languages and it is HIPAA compliant. All these compliances are there, so you can use and see this. The use cases, you just start recording and it is processing in the background and then it generates a note. Even if you're writing on pen and paper, if you get a generated SOAP note in a structured manner, it's easier to then look at it and then write your own note by making some edits. I think this is the use case for rural healthcare. Okay, so and finally, writing assistants, all these Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT. We'll be doing some exercises fast in this one, and we'll wrap up with this. So you saw you can use it for differential diagnosis. So just to show you a demonstration in this short time, let me go to one of the tools and let me copy this for you. You can dictate also. You can use the voice mode feature in your app. If some of you have not used it, just open ChatGPT on your mobile phone and just try to use this dictation feature and just try to speak some kind of a patient summary. Anything, you can speak anything. I'm putting a 55-year-old male farmer from rural Karnataka presents with 3-grade night sweats and this, but I need to give it a context. Please act like an expert pulmonologist. Okay, for example, pulmonologist. A 55-year-old patient presents with what are the top differentials? Give me in a table format and tell me the supporting and against points for each DD. Okay, so you can write like this, and any tool, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Gemini, you can use Claude, you can also add some documents, attach some documents here and then ask a question. So it's all upon you, right, how much you want to dive deep. But see, now it is giving me top differentials for the presentation, pulmonary tuberculosis, which is what we wanted to see, because this is a classical history and you will see a lot of TB. Of course, you can diagnose yourself. I'm not saying that you need AI to diagnose pulmonary TB, but at least you get a differential diagnosis. So maybe you can think on these lines also and rule them out. And this is always giving points against supporting points. So this is just one use case which I wanted to show you, which can be very helpful, especially if you are new to the posting and you've just come out of medical school and you want to learn. Or this is a great learning process, believe me, but always be aware that this can make mistakes. So if you are confused on something, just go back to tools like UpToDate and some kind of PubMed search, or confirm with a Google search, simple Google search, go through 1 or 2 papers and then take your decision. So this is one use case. I hope this is a very common, simple use case, differential diagnosis. Second is clinical note in 30 seconds. So again, if I am giving this kind of a history to any tool, so let us see Gemini now. Let us see another tool. So Gemini is another tool from Google. So you can put here. So this is my patient. Suppose you can also dictate this to the tool in your mobile phone. So I dictated this. Now I tell it to create a SOAP note, SOAP note. So SOAP note is a format of note which is situation, objective, subjective, and assessment and plan. So this is how you should write a note in a proper way. So see how it has structured it. Of course, I have to edit it. I have to add some things. Maybe I have to delete some things. But this gives me a draft to get started. and any form of note. You can make a discharge note, you can make a post-op summary, post-procedure summary, you can make a follow-up note, whatever you want to make, you can do this. Just you have to dictate. Just open the app on your mobile phone. You see this mic button, just click on it and start speaking whatever you face with the patient, and it will convert it into a note. And lastly, referral letter. Let us write a referral letter and see how it writes. So I go back to my differential diagnosis patient. So I tell it to write a referral letter to a pulmonologist. Okay, so pulmonologist, and I'm mentioning the tone. See, I'm mentioning the format, standard hospital letter, whatever. You can be creative. The more you practice this art of prompting, the better you will become. So see, it is writing you a referral letter. And if you want this in Hindi, it can write in Hindi also. Okay, whatever language you want, you can try to convert it. For language conversion, please try to use Gemini. Okay, so Gemini is better at translation. Convert this into Hindi. So you can save a lot of time in translation, in drafting, all those things. It can help you. So I hope you got a gist of things and how you can use these tools. Again, now try to place yourself in one of these three buckets. Are you having high volume patients? Are you in a high volume rural center? Are you in a center where a lot of complex cases come to you and you need a lot of help? Or are you medical education or training person? Are you preparing for NEET, which I think most of you must be, or need super speciality? So you can use Notebook LM and AI for patient education, Claude. All these things you will see tomorrow, Notebook LM in detail. So I have not covered here Notebook LM. Glass Health, up-to-date Claude for reasoning and all, I showed you how to create a differential diagnosis. And for voice notes and dictation, again, I showed you. If we have time, I don't know, I wanted to show you something where you can create a mini app, but I think that would be more for this, the scope of this webinar. Maybe we can take it in Q&A in the end if I can show you. So with this, I'll leave you with these key takeaways. That is, please start using. There are multiple free and paid tools available out there. Don't try to use every tool. Try to use one tool this week and then add another tool next week. That is the proper way. We go through all the tools because you have to teach. So we try a lot of tools simultaneously, but you have to be a user so you can use it one by one. Always understand it will not replace your clinical thinking. And the easiest way to get started is start taking voice notes from tomorrow for any one or two patients in your OPD, and then try to convert it into notes using Gemini. That is the least friction pathway that you can get started with. And of course, Notebook LM, which tomorrow you will be seeing, Dr. Nitin will be demonstrating it. Okay, so I think with this, I'll hand it over to Dr. Jaideep. I think I overshot by a bit. Stop sharing my screen.
Dr. Avneesh, there was one question which you sort of already have covered, which we got, that how can we use ChatGPT for clinical notes? Is there a structured way that you can use it? What's sort of, if you were to say 5 points, and how do you use ChatGPT for clinical notes?
Yes. So, Dr. Nitin, if I want to use ChatGPT only for clinical notes, then there's a way to make it more usable, which is called custom GPT. So what I will do is I will go to custom GPT feature. Of course, it's a paid tool. You have to buy at least the Go version of ChatGPT, which is like a few, like 200 or 300 rupees a month. And then you have something called create custom GPT, and that is where you prompt it to create a note generator for you, and you will give different examples of notes which you are usually generating. You can add documents to it in the background, just you can do in Notebook LM, and then it will generate notes based on your kind of customization, and that is why it is called custom GPT. So your custom GPT will be different from my custom GPT, and that is how you make it more personalized note maker for yourself. So use that functionality in ChatGPT. Don't use vanilla ChatGPT for note generation. That is the message.
Right. And what is your opinion and practice about the use of ChatGPT or Gemini for interpretation of ECGs and chest X-rays?
Yes, so I will tell you a very interesting story. I was in a marriage with one of my friends, and I was very excited to demonstrate the usage of AI. And I just asked them for ECG. They gave me an ECG. I put it into Gemini, and I asked it what is the diagnosis. And I showed it. My friend told it is totally wrong. This is acute coronary syndrome (MI). But then I came back. I scratched my head. I saw that what mistake I did was I put the entire ECG with the differential diagnosis mentioned on the top, which we get from those ECG machines, right? Which is most of often wrong, and that is where AI did cheating, and it just picked that diagnosis. So when I removed it and I put only the ECG, I got very good results with Gemini, Chat GPT. They are very good at now image to text, but of course with a disclaimer, they can make mistakes. If you add some kind of a knowledge base on the background, like how to interpret an ECG, then it will be more accurate when you are putting the image. This is what I understand. But there are now tools, dedicated tools for these ECG analysis, which are coming out. Of course, not free for individuals, enterprise kind of tools, but Gemini does a good job. Gemini and Chat GPT for vision.
One question that Dr. George is asking. Dr. George is from the batch of 2019 from St. John's. He has been the president of the student committee. He is working right now in Maharashtra. The doubt is, can the models which you have showed with regard to Isabel and Glass Health, is it trained on data from US? And if yes, how applicable is it in the Indian scenario, and do we risk data bias?
So this is a question which we definitely need to ask those people when we are taking a demo. I believe Isabel is an Israeli company, and I think they have used multiple data sets. Of course, some of them or most of them would be from US. And the more we use and we train them on our data set, and I think they also customize the tool to your data set. This is something that they do if you have. So this definitely has to be validated on Indian patient population. Yes. Oh, I think you went mute.
So just keep using them and then try to see which works, which doesn't, and what is the accuracy.
Yeah, meta prompting I forgot to show. Meta prompting is nothing. You go to ChatGPT and tell it to create a prompt for your task and tell it to ask questions to you. So if it will keep asking questions to you and it will keep refining the prompt, and in the end, the prompt that you get, you can use in any other tool like Claude.
So that's the question which has just now come in, as you can see in the chat box. Can you just give what is meta prompting with an example? Like, I mean, you have explained it, but if an example.
Can I just show it? Can I just show it
please.
Just for a minute? Yeah. Okay. So let me share my screen and I'll go back to the browser. Okay, so for example, if I have ChatGPT, chatgpt.com, and I have, I want to, for example, create a slide deck for my talk on AI in healthcare. Okay, this is my task. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to put this. Now I will tell it now create a prompt, and I can give it a framework using role, task, context, okay, format, and constraints. This is a framework. There are many frameworks out there. If you go online and Google, you will get framework. These are like mnemonics, like role, task, context, format. What all should be there in a prompt? So if I tell it I want in this framework, so create a prompt using this framework. Ask me any clarifying questions. Okay, clarifying.
So I think that last one is the important part.
Yes, clarifying questions. And you can also mention, please keep the prompt as in 100 words. Okay, so you can do that, of course, anything that comes to your mind, and see, it will create a prompt for you which you can use it. So see, it is creating a prompt now. So what happens is this acts like a checklist, and I don't forget anything. And it's also asking me clarifying questions. Okay, who is the exact audience? What's the duration of talk? So I forgot to mention duration of talk, then I can get a checklist. And in the end, the prompt that I get, I can just copy it and paste it into any tool of my liking, which can generate my deck. So this is called meta prompting. So I hope this clarifies. More you practice, the better you will become with time. But this is one thing you have to use AI for.
Right, and then we can of course mention the words to be less than 100, less than 50, 75.
Anything. And if you have found that this thing is good, sometimes I also tell the AI to feel confident, that I tell it, okay, you can do it. So sometimes even giving some single word of appreciation in the prompt also helps AI to give you a better response. These are
Right.
small tricks. Yeah.
Right. As Dr. Rajvardhan, who is our next faculty and who has a lot of experience with AI in the field of ICU, says AI is just as good as the information it has. One last question before we wind up this session. It is coming from Dr. Binu Joy. He has been a senior radiologist and now in the world of health tech and startups. Are there any good institutional subscription models which you would recommend for medical colleges or for healthcare institutes? Let's take even a small hospital or a nursing home in the rural area. What would you say off the top of your head?
So I think again I might be biased in my answer, but then if you're on a Google ecosystem, I think if you have a Google Workspace kind of a subscription, I think you get a lot of functionalities in that. Google Sheets, Google Gmail, Google Docs, everywhere you get a Gemini model. You also get Notebook LM advanced features and more kind of capacity. So I think if you want to just take one subscription, Google right now is the best one. Another one I would suggest Claude for enterprise, although it's a bit expensive. ChatGPT for enterprise I would put as a third option, but they all have their enterprise versions. You can take a trial of all of those, see which tool your workforce is more comfortable on, and they're able to use it, and then you can go for an enterprise version of that tool. But one tool out of this you have to buy and give to all your workforce to be able to experiment and use it in a safe environment.
Are there any concerns with using Gemini for healthcare related doubts? Because some articles come in that Gemini has guardrails against providing health advice. So in that sense, would you sort of say that one is better than the other, or?
Yeah, so just like human beings are different, if you ask me a question about medicine, I might be more guarded in answering. So if I ask someone else, they might give the entire dose of the medicine also. So there's a difference between Gemini and ChatGPT. Gemini has made it a policy that it will not give any kind of dose or any kind of prescription advice, but ChatGPT gives it with a disclaimer that this is not a medical advice. So there's different tools for different purpose. If you're a medical professional, of course you can use ChatGPT to get some kind of medical advice because you are a professional and you will apply your brain before giving it. But for patients to use these tools and get misdiagnosed or mistreated, there have been reports where patients have taken HIV medicines without any confirmation from a professional and landed in ICU because of complications. So the Gemini takes a more conservative approach to this and doesn't give those answers where you need those. So if you're a medical professional and you want those answers, go to ChatGPT. That will give you.
So a very interesting point being brought about by Dr. Rajvardhan here, that if we give information or reveal that we are a doctor or specialist, it may sometimes, override, and the answers may turn out to be different. What's
So
your
I am intrigued that how does it make sure that you are a doctor? Does it see your way of talking, way of prompting, the way of asking the question? Is it trained on that kind of a thing? Maybe it's possible. So, but then again, it can create errors, right? So you have to take it as a decision that as a tool that whether I want to give this information or not give this information. Sometimes you can do intelligent prompting, smart prompting, and override the things. But I think if a patient does that, again, it's a problem.
Right. So, for example, my ChatGPT knows because of the number of sort of oncology-related queries that I have asked, and again using smart prompts that you said, it sort of guesses that you're a medical oncologist, given what your quiz master has said. So, I guess if we keep the option open with the history on, it sort of very well analyzes your personality too. Very fascinating talk, Dr. Avneesh. I'm sure this conversation can go on for a much longer time. We will come back definitely for the sort of how to code. Our two of our doctors would also be speaking. We will take that up in the end. So please do stay with us till then. Now, if I can invite Dr. Jaideep on stage, please. This is a very important talk for all medical professionals with regard to privacy, compliance, ethical issues with regarding to AI. And just to give a context, a group of us doctors, Dr. Binu, Dr. Genome, Dr. Anil, and many more, Dr. Murtuza, Dr. From different parts of St. John's Medical College Institute, formed a small WhatsApp group almost 10 years, 12, 13 years back now in 2013, where we sort of looked at trying to provide live assistance to the people serving in the rural areas, and of course connecting them with senior faculty at the alma mater. And 13 years for now, images have been shared, ECGs have been shared, x-rays have been shared, reports have been shared, most of the time of course in a de-identified manner, because as privacy laws began to evolve, we did realize the importance of maintaining data confidentiality. But today in the world of AI, ChatGPT, and sort of multiple other tools where we are at liberty, or sort of take the liberty rather, to upload the documents, what should we be really careful about? Dr. Jaideep, one of the brains behind driving this program today, over to you for your talk on data privacy.
Thank you, Nitin. And let me begin by apologizing to both Nitin and Avneesh, because this is what I do, right? So I follow up with these talks where the going is great and I pour water on it. Right? So, you always say, which of the pedals in a car makes it go fast, right? And it's not the accelerator, it's the brakes. So I'm coming to put a bit of a brake on lot of the questions, lot of the discussion which is going on, and it's important, right? So I'm not being a spoiled sport, or I'm not spoiling the party here, but there are guidelines. There have always been guidelines, and the first guideline, AI guideline, was set by Hippocrates, no one else, right? So all of us, I think all 200 of us have taken the Hippocratic oath, having studied in a premier institution like St. John's. We have been taught, you have been taught an ethical way of doing things. You do things right. You will not do anything on the wrong way. You will definitely not break the law. And before I come to the actual legal aspect of it, which we might be a little bit ignorant, I just want to touch about one basic principle, which I think all of us should remember, right? And that is ethics. And so, what will ethics mean? What will governance mean in the cyber world? To put it very simply, and the way it was beautifully framed in the Telemedicine Act, which came out at sort of the right time at the beginning of COVID, was that all the rules, all the laws, which all your behavior, whatever you do in the real world, in your clinic, it applies in the digital world as well. So keep that as, so if you feel that, should I do this? Should I put the patient information in ChatGPT or in Gemini? Should I ask a quack to help me diagnose this patient? Just think of it as, in your real life, would you do that, right? So I respect. I mean, I think Avneesh showcased the meta prompt itself, saying create a prompt to make the slides for the thing. And if you notice, yeah, I'm exposing the back end of how we did this, but we did use AI to create all the beautiful slides that you're seeing. But does that mean that we rely only on that? Do I just blindly trust each and every word that is there? Did we not edit it? so these are some of the questions that you really need to ask, because the end of the day, it is two people, you as the doctor, the physician, and he or she or the child who is the patient. And our responsibility as physicians is always to that single person. And we should never be carried away so much by technology. I'm sounding a bit preachy, but please do bear with me, because this is very, very important. Because these things are so exciting, and you want to do so much thing. You want to create notes, you want to make a change, you want to make quick diagnosis. But unless we fly high with our feet firmly planted on the ground, we are going to crash, somewhere. So please be very careful. Ethics is very important. I did not create a slide on ethics, but I quickly want to tell at least 4 or 5 points on the ethics part, right? So the number one thing is non-maleficence, right? Hippocratic oath, primum non docere. First, do no harm. So if you feel that the way you are using AI, any AI, right? I'm not talking only about the generative AI, even the descriptive AI, the AI in your ECG machine or the AI in your ultrasound machine. First thing, and of course, the big companies, they build it into the system. They remove the bias, they lower it, all that. But remember, non-maleficence is the first do no harm, which obviously the other side of the same thing is beneficence, right? So when we are doing anything, is it really helping the patient? Am I just saving my own time to make life easy for me, and I'm cutting corners? So be very careful of that. Uh, Autonomy is very important. Now we uh, have to respect, and we do respect, right? So if only because you're respecting individuals and patients and rural communities, you are there where you are today. And we need to continue to do that even when we are using all these different plethora of tools that we have. And the other one is justice, right? So we cannot say, I'm going to provide high quality care to one particular section of people or to some people, but I need to distribute all these benefits and the burdens with fairly to everyone. Then of course confidentiality will come. I'll be talking a little bit of about confidentiality and secrecy, which we really need to take care in that, right? So number one is the ethics part, and I don't have to teach you ethics. I just wanted to remind you about ethics that are there. The other thing is governance, right? So, ChatGPT is very famous for psychophancy, right? So, ChatGPT will always make you feel good, right? You are always right in ChatGPT. That is the way ChatGPT or the AI or the models are trained in OpenAI, right? So that's the way OpenAI trains its models. This is a scientific fact. Please look it up and get the papers down. On the other hand, there is Anthropic, and Anthropic has gotten into trouble because Anthropic is very scientific. There is scientific rigor. It will say what it is and what is not. There's no psychophancy there. Gemini and Google are somewhere in between. Microsoft, when it uses Copilot, they're also somewhere in between. But yes, so please be careful that it should not just start uh, doing things as you are as you want to say, right? So these are the two things that I want you to be very careful, because remember one thing, that AI is an amplifier. So, and Avneesh has demonstrated that you put a little bit, it will become so big. So if you put a little bit of good, it will become a lot of good. Same way, if you put a little bit of bad, it will become a lot of good, right? So that was the introduction that I wanted to give before I actually move on to the slides, and I put this part in slides because it is legal stuff and there's no escaping legal stuff. So, and these things started very recently, and you really need to understand the law. We cannot plead ignorance, when we are doing anything legal, right? So, every time anything you press a key, that's data, right? So every time you put a symptom, any text, any voice, any photograph, any ECG, X-ray, all that you have been mentioning in the questions, they're all going into first your phone, and with internet, that with the help of internet, it goes to a server. Mostly you will not know where that server is sitting. Server is another big computer which is analyzing everything, and then it sends back the answer to you, right? So please remember that, right? So of course there are solutions, and is that you run your own AI, like Ika Scribe, which Avneesh was showing. I saw a demo of that in one of the hospitals here, and they run it on-prem or on the premises. The actual data never leaves the hospital, right? And so they're able to safeguard, they're able to put their boundaries and fences around that. So please be very careful whenever you are using, whenever you are putting any data, right? So you enter the data, there's an input, it is sent to a server, and mind you, it is absolutely illegal that Indian data to leave Indian borders, right? So, as Indian PIIs, or the personal identification, indexes, those things cannot leave India. So be very careful with that. So all the AI companies, they try to put their own servers in India, and like like the hospital I was mentioning, they put it all in their own hospital. And ideally, you see something and you read it and you throw it, right? So there should not be any retention of data, but we don't know, right, what they are storing. And remember that, because that comes in the next stage when we talk about it. And all of these processes, you are responsible, right? So maybe you should point it, but when something goes wrong, people will come and catch you. So just be very careful. I am not scaring you, but please be aware, right? So, so this is what the act was there. So the DP Act, the Digital Personal Data and Protection Act, 2023. Now, this is not something which is new. In a way, it is new to India, but there was the HIPAA, HIPAA, which came out in the mid 2010s in the US. And then there was GDPR, which came out in the EU in the late 2010s. And a better combination of both of them, much higher quality, is the DPDP Act. It was sort of rolled out in 2023. It became a law in the last few months, and it will be implemented, I think, in the May 23rd or something of 2027, right? So if you cannot break that law after 2020. I mean, right now the government has given us some time to make sure our systems are correct, and we set up the organization, we set up the DPO, the data protection officer, the consent manager. So a lot of roles will come. A lot of your hospitals will actually need to have a designated person carrying the designated offices of the DPDP Act. It's a much longer conversation to have. Happy to have this conversation with the leaders. But I'm assuming most of you are the junior doctors. You really need to be aware and careful of doing certain things, right? So, first thing is that all patient data is personal data. All patient data is personal data. Just go with that, right? So, whether it is the names, the diagnosis, the prescription, the symptoms, everything, it will be personal. Then consent becomes a very important part of the DPDP Act. Now, typically, we take an implied consent that if the patient is coming to my hospital and seeking my help and treatment, it is implied that they want help from me, and that's why I'm providing that treatment. And when we do a procedure, whether it's a tooth extraction or a laparoscopic cholecystectomy, we take another level of consent, saying that you consent that I will do this surgery, this thing, harms can happen, and then anything can happen in between the surgery, and we will have to do anything to save your life. So now that kind of a blanket data is not an option when it comes to the digital data, right? So till now, it was obvious that when the patient has come, we will collect the data and we will store it digitally as a hospital, we will process it and do whatever. With the DPDP Act, every usage that you do with that data, the patient has to give a consent for that, right? So if you say, I'm going to use your data to keep it as a medical record and to refer and provide you the treatment, fine, that's on consent. But then if you say that I'm going to use that data to actually train an AI model so that future generations or future AI becomes better, you need another data for that, another consent for that. And mind you, after that, the patient can also revoke that consent. Okay. And if you want to do anything else, you have to get consent again for that. Now, it's a nightmare in how it's going to be implemented ever. And people are trying to figure out how it's going to happen. But there will be a designated consent manager wherever data is being retrieved, stored, and utilized. So this is something which you need to be aware of right now, and you need to get into place. And as the treating doctor, you are known as the data fiduciary. Okay, so that's the term which is there. So if anything happens, if data is misused or leaked in any tool, you will bear the responsibility. And there are massive penalties. So I think it starts somewhere at 250 crore rupees, right? So that shows the seriousness with which this has come. Yes, so there are ways to make it easy. There are soft ways to make it easy. There are trainings that, like this training that we are doing to make it easy. And it's like law, any other law, right? So like how you have to drive on the left side of the road. Now you have to make sure that the data is properly used. And those are the laws. And like you cannot tell the traffic police or any police that I didn't know that it was wrong to kill somebody. You don't need to know, it is there. So definitely you really need to learn about it in the right time, but be aware as of now. Today, it is just awareness that we need to know. So, three things you should do: anonymize, try to anonymize as much as possible, right? So, instead of saying that, you're writing the name and the age and the gender and all that. So, try to anonymize and just remove anything which is personally identifying. I've seen people sending Aadhaar number, mobile number, everything, bundled together and sending it across. So I've seen WhatsApp groups where people send the entire report, the entire, all the details of the address, everything, right? So please anonymize that. These things will be monitored. Yes, we have been sending ECGs and X-rays across on WhatsApp groups, but that is something which we really need to be very, very careful in the coming days. Now, is it just about WhatsApp groups? No, it is about even uploading that data into your ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, because we don't know where it is going, right? So I'm sure in the coming days, these tools will also put in certain filters where they will immediately. I mean, for me, my Gemini refuses, says that this has got personal information. I will not process that, right? So somehow those kind of things will also come. You must. These are the general tools we have been talking about, which are good for me for my personal use. Whatever your Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot. But the moment you use like an EHR or an hospital-based hospital management system and you're putting AI tools onto that, please ensure that your vendor actually incorporates these rules, hard codes these rules, and you have your own set of policies as an organization. And these policies also reflect in the software as well. And the first thing is always to ethically you have to do is inform the patients. Right? So if you say that uh, you know I'm going to like just hold on, and you start typing on your chat GPT and ask, this patient has come and 50-year-old with cough, what should I do? Tell them that I'm asking, I have a genuine doubt, your case seems to be complicated. I think that is a good step to begin with. So what you should not do, right? Definitely you should not share any identifiable patient data on the consumer chatbots, right? So uh, and I think we have talked about it already. We should not share patient images, right? So, with facial recognition, uh, you can easily make out that little piece of black we used to put on eyes and all that. AI is able to decipher beyond that. So, please be very careful. Right? So, personal uh, even I have seen MRIs, right, which have come and supposedly anonymized and sort of de-identified. I've seen that there is somewhere, the name will be printed, on the sheet somewhere it is there. So that will not happen if you're using a proper compliant tool, right? So something which is HIPAA and DPDP compliant, those kind of mistakes will not. So please be very, very careful and cautious with that, right? So do this, anonymize the data, check if there is a healthcare policy. A lot of these tools do not have a healthcare policy, right? We demonstrated with Gemini example. Tell patients about you using AI support. Uh, it is good, right? So if it should not be that the patient is using AI, now it is up to them, right? So you are not the data fiduciary if the patient is using a chat GPT at their home. But if you are using within the hospital setup, you have that contract when they make the registration and they pay the fees and come to you, that that we will be doing it ethically. So you really need to expose and do that, right? So use AI for clinical thinking. It is not a record system. So again, of course, we are doing a lot of this thing about, we're talking about AI and AI can do so many things. But please remember that the AI which you see today, this is the worst ever AI you will see ever, because it's only getting better. The AI is still a baby, it's an infant. And by the time AI actually matures, it will do a lot of things, a lot more things. And right now, it cannot do many things. Like it cannot be used as a storage system or a record system. So, please keep a note of what you're doing, where you're doing that, where you're getting your hallucinations. So please be careful in that. Don'ts again, MRD numbers, patient names, WhatsApp bots, Telegram bots. These have been very common. People have used it successfully in quotes. Please don't do that. Please don't upload images. Please be careful when you're scanning some of these tools. Again, the maybe even if you remove the name, it is not like using ChatGPT for ECG is not a good idea, because ChatGPT is not trained for ECGs, right? So you have to train an AI. That is why we call it machine learning. That machine has not learned ECGs, right? Like Isabel probably has not learned about Indian patients, and that is where we are quite behind in terms of AI, because a lot of our data is just still in steel almirahs, in papers which nobody can read, right? So we still have to digitalize it, And lot of our Indian data is in Indian languages, and we still have not taken it out to the internet where AI is picking up its learning, right? So I think we still have some more time for things to mature before we can be confident in using it, right? So I think the key takeaways, uh, data, there's a data trail, right? So they know what you did every time. So it's not that I deleted, so nobody knows. I deleted my history, I deleted the file. Uh, we have taken out files from formatted hard disks as well, right? So a lot of stuff can be happening. Uh, DPDP is here. It is coming. There is no discussion. There is no debate. It is there. It is Parliament has okayed it. There's a date which is set, and you, as the physician, are the data fiduciary. As much as possible, yep. Uh, you have to, anonymize first. Choose tools wisely. Inform patients, and always remember. Right now, AI can make mistakes, right? So you can see, right on the screen, next section by Avneesh Khare. Now AI has made the mistake. I left it there, right? So it does make even simple mistakes like this, right? So we have to be very careful. We don't want to make any mistakes with our patients, right? So our specificity, our sensitivity has to be very high, and we really need to be careful in what we showcase to our patients. So be careful. Yeah, breaks are important to go past.
Right. So we'll quickly take on two questions before we move to the next session of the real world examples. The first question is from Dr. Preeti Harrison. She's a senior consultant dermatologist in Kerala, and she says, are there legal implications if the notes or the SOAP protocol, which Dr. Avneesh spoke about, are AI generated? So are there legal implications? I'm assuming if we use it, is there anything in the law that prevents us from using AI generated notes or the SOAP protocol?
See, the SOAP is a protocol, right? You could have your own protocol. Every clinic, every clinician
Yeah.
has their own protocol. Now, my with my little experience of working with the American healthcare system, SOAP is a protocol which makes it very easy for the insurance agencies to work, right? So we have a lot of variations of that depending on which college and which system you're working. So that is one part. Now, are we using the AI to generate the note? Okay, and if that note contains the patient's information, right? Two scenarios. Please be very careful in this, because what we are calling AI is ChatGPT 90% of the times. Okay, so any of these commonly available market tools, you cannot do that. So there are legal implications for that. If you're subscribed to something like Care, and again, they are not sponsoring us, and I think they are good friends of us. If you're sponsoring Care or Scribe, which have their own AI, right, and there are a lot of inherent EMRs which use their own AI, and the AI sits in their own system, in their own hospital, then the legality is already covered. So there's no
No, but the
issue there.
question, but the question here is, if I use de-identified clinical material to generate notes or a formatted structure of the notes, like SOAP protocol as an example, am I allowed to do that as a doctor?
So I would say there will be more of an ethical dilemma there rather than a legal dilemma right now. So as I again said that the implications or the enforcement of DPDP is still being debated, right? So they have written it that it has to be done. Exactly how it will be, like you have to drive on the left side of the road, but if there is no traffic policeman, where will you drive? Or if there is no road, It's a wide field. So it's like that. But so the thing is the note which the AI is creating, I will not even call it generating, is that accurate or not? So that if Dr. X has written a particular note using AI, and later when Dr. Y is seeing that note, will they get a true representation of what has happened to the patient or not?
I think we will come to Dr. Rajavardhan very shortly, because I think there is a lot which goes on in the ICU with regard to note generation and note sort of creation as such as well. We will come to that. I will want to come to one more thing. Now we of course have the meta glasses which have coming. So what are your thoughts on the ethics and disclosures with hardware like meta glasses?
So yeah, so recently I think Nitin was also there when we had a friend who was using a Meta glass, and because I guessed and I knew that the Meta glass is there, uh, I was a little bit apprehensive of what's going on. But it's the same thing. Like suppose you're in public transport, you're in the metro, and somebody is just taking photographs, right? Would you want that to happen? Would you want to be even in the background of somebody else's selfie, right? Would you want your conversations to be recorded? So that is without information. Now, with information, I am the doctor. I put on my glasses and say, patient so and so, all that we are talking is being recorded. And that is where this ambient AI comes in. And what Ika scribed, I've seen the demo, is that there is nothing, there's no keyboard, there's no paper on the table. It's a patient and a doctor who's sitting and talking. Everything gets recorded, everything gets put into the right boxes, into the notes, prescription is generated, everything happens, right? And there is a consent that yes, we are using AI. So you really need to sort of inform the person and inform them that they should inform back to you that it is okay. So I was at an event, just to give a very quick example. Yesterday, I was at an event. I was at an event at the British Council, and they made us sign that we will take photographs. They put a lot of notices, and if you have any issues with that, please tell us. So then you have to sign that we don't have any issues with me being photographed in a public placement. So that was a very practical implementation of the GDPR Act, because that was a British. Yeah, we have to be careful.
Right. I think very, very interesting discussions happening in the background as well between our panelists and experts. So with regard to there is an opinion that if you are in a public space, what is privacy there and what is the implication of consent there? But of course, if there's a thought that in Middle East, if someone accidentally comes in your selfie, they sometimes come and ask you to delete it. So the whole concept of privacy itself is being debated around in different setups as such. Very interesting question by Dr. George here again, that in a clinical context as well, does implied consent now extend to the clinician feeding your clinical history to an AI chatbot? Again, of course, we will stress on the fact with de-identification and depersonalization. And Dr. Vishal, the neurologist, says that primarily because neurology depends a lot on videographing those particular moments of, let's say, a seizure and all those things. We usually take videos of a clinical sign with permission, and then with consent, maybe we can safely use newer hardware like glasses. So quick thoughts on that.
So yeah, so I think it's so I was running we do video EEG, right? So
Yeah.
it is obvious, right? Now the thing, doing a video EEG is one thing, then uploading that entire video EEG onto YouTube is another thing, right? So there are people who have done that, people who have uploaded their entire patient videos onto YouTube, and then anybody can do anything. Now there, if the patient agrees that fine, I'm a very special patient. My movement disorder is the most rarest one. Please upload it for the sake of science, and I give my permission. So if you're getting the permissions done, there is possibly no issue. But mind you, you should always be able to withdraw that, give that option of withdrawing that permission as well. So yes, neurology cannot be done without consent in any case. But we have to make sure that we don't upload it to YouTube and say that I have my guardrails around that. Those videos have to be put onto my personal server, hospital server, or whatever, and then told when we are going to use it, when we are going to delete it. All those things will have to be documented. So the implied part is not that implied now. So that you have to
I,
figure out,
I
and
think this is a
your
very
DPDP
evolving.
expert has to figure that out.
Yeah, I think it's a
It
very
is
evolving.
evolving. It is.
It is evolving. And I think one more point about the previous point that we discussed is if we are using AI to generate notes or in SOAP format, we talked about accuracy aspect. And I think this is answering to Dr. Preeti's question there, that ultimately as a doctor, I have responsibility to verify the accuracy so that if some other dermatologist is seeing it or an oncologist is seeing it, scientifically and medically it is accurate. I'm using AI only to reduce the redundancy of putting it in a structure. We will come back at the end. I think there are a lot of questions coming in. We will come back at the end. We will move on to the next part of the talk. If I can invite Dr. Rajavardhan and Dr. Vishal on stage, please. Dr. Rajavardhan is the lead consultant and the head of department of critical care at Manipal Sajapur, a very, very passionate educator and teacher, conducting a lot of workshop and seminars for critical care students across the country. And Dr. Vishal, a young dynamic neurologist from St. John's Medical College, is sort of at the forefront of pioneering neurology apps and using it for his own clinical workflow. Very fascinating migraine app that he has developed, which I hope he shows a glimpse of it. Over to you, gentlemen, to take us over the next 20 minutes or so with regard to your experience on how you have used AI in clinical workflow. We'll start with Dr. Vishal and then move to Dr. Raj, if that's fine.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hi, Dr. Nitin, and I thank you for allowing me to showcase some of the things that I've been doing with AI. I'm trying to just share my screen so that I can start off. Is my screen visible? Hello? Okay. Yeah, I think it is visible now. Yeah. So I'm going to start my talk with a small presentation. So I'll be describing my little bit humble journey with AI. And obviously, this is a talk on AI. I just want to say that I did use AI tools to create visual design for my presentation, and I'm solely responsible for the content here. So my AI journey started with learning the basics of AI, the foundational concepts, then went into exploring AI tools. Finally, right now, I'm into vibe coding, slowly turning to exploring Python, and hopefully create some impact. So initially, my journey started off with Chat GPT. Uh, am I? Is it visible? I'm not able to see if it is. Okay. I'm sorry for the delay. So it started off with Chat GPT. The Chat GPT, obviously, everyone has explored AI. I think with starting off with Chat GPT was one of the initial AI tools, which was large language model available to everyone. Initially, it started off how we discussed using it as a search engine, entering clinic queries, using certain guidelines to get information very quickly. And then I switched over to using it for research, using it for certain small aspects like using it for grammar corrections, writing certain portions whenever I had a writer's block, or even for day-to-day activities. So initially, if you can see my prompt, it is as simple as any novice would be prompting. The most simplest of commands to get some aspect of a large language model to give me certain information. But then I switched over to using essentials of prompting. That is when I realized I needed to ask questions better. That is when I get a good response from AI. So how to ask AI correctly, how to structure my points, learning about assigning roles, giving context, giving tasks, and then iterative prompting. All this helps in getting better responses from AI and also avoiding hallucinations. And now finally into AI assisted prompt generation, that is meta prompting. Once I understood how to understand AI better, how to ask AI better, that's when I started to go for other ideas, starting to do brainstorming for research ideas, maybe manuscript writing, literature review of topics, generating images, assistance in writing standard operating procedures. So this is what I had encountered when I was writing for helping in writing the institutional standard operating procedures for stroke. So this is one example I wanted to showcase that the data what we provide to AI, when we structure the data, can help you make it into a more better visual format, create flow charts for you. So we give the information, we know what we want, how the flow of the thing should go, but to help visually portray it, we can use certain AI tools out there which gives all this procedural standard of operating procedure, makes it easy for us to write. The next thing I delved into is patient information, to generate information cards for the patient, the educational aspect, how I can use to show and help convey my message regarding hospital services or stroke care, what you can do to manage risk factors in a form of patient brochure or patient education pamphlets, to creating this. That's where it can be helpful. I'm not going to talk too much on Notebook LM because it will be covered tomorrow by Dr. Nitin. But again, learning help in learning concepts, learning guidelines, not just learning in ourselves, but using certain slide generation and certain reports, infographics to in fact teach people and interact with people and teach patients and even your fellow residents. That's where I've been using Notebook LM as well. Now I still prefer the conventional way of reading my own guidelines first and then using Notebook LM. But yeah, it's an important tool, which will be dealt with Dr. Nitin tomorrow. The next AI tool which I wanted to showcase was personalized AI assistants. So these are custom gems which can help us actually, reduce hallucinations and make us give what we want, a concise version, what we want the other person to know. Just that. I'll just show an example of this. Yeah. So this is one of the AI tools which a custom gem, Google Gemini gem, which was created. So this was based on the Stroke 2026 guidelines. So this I had created for my fellow residents to help them know what the stroke guidelines are. So I had given specific clinical scenarios. So like it is just how we interact with Chat GPT, but instead of a large language model where you have a lot of information that the custom GPT needs to, here I've concised it only to the stroke guidelines, scientific guidelines which are required, and I've given him case scenarios so the resident can interact with this chat model, and it will give specific case scenarios which I have entered beforehand, and I have given the information to the custom GPT beforehand, and only based on that will it give a response. So this kind of creates lesser hallucinations. It also creates the custom data that you want the person to read. And similarly, even in this, not just not just not just for education purposes, not just for uh, yeah, so not just for resident learning, all but also for patient education learning. Like I had made an IIH tool where where a patient can learn about what IIH, idiopathic intracranial hypertension, actually means, how it can really, obviously it comes with a disclaimer that it is just an education tool, but can explain about what the risk factors are. Now, the advantage of this is because it is based on just the information that I have placed. So the patient only interacts with that particular information. So it cannot go beyond that scope. Now, finally, coming to the next aspect, that is vibe coding. So this is what I've been using right now. So the vibe coding, what it actually means is using natural language driven. So whatever I think about, if I have an idea, I just use a natural language to give it into AI, and the AI does the coding for me. So I am not doing any coding. I just have an idea. I know how to explain the AI about my idea, and the AI takes most of the heavy lifting and does the coding. And of course, it will make errors because so the important part here is also to get the feedback and refine what you have iterated and reiterated, and finally give to a good execution. So here I would want to show a few apps that I have created. So I will start with the first app which I was talking to Dr. Nitin about. So this was what I had used it for, tracking some of the patients. For what we do in neurology is, when we see a patient who comes to us with headache, we usually give them a headache diary, and we ask them to note down the severity, how many attacks you have, and it's a physical copy which sometimes patient lose or patient have difficulty noting down. So this is a mobile kind of app where the patient can enter his or her own problems. Headache, this is specific to headache, so they can mention their attack date, the pain severity, the duration, the minutes, the precipitating factors, and any additional information. So this again was personalized to what I wanted the patient to enter. So we can so all I had to do was vibe code saying that these are the parameters that I want to be in the headache app. These are what I would want the patient to enter in the headache diary, and that is what it created. It also gives a monthly headache summary, and this is in fact the patient side of things, and it can also have a neurologist side of things, where the doctors also can know what the patient's total number of headaches were in the month, or what were the severity, what was the average severity. This helps in the doctors knowing whether the patient is getting better, how is your treatment working, understanding what are the precipitating factors, and dealing with the precipitating factors. So basically digitalizing what we were already doing. What we were actually doing was doing it on paper. We are now just digitalizing it, and it's more like a personalized app. So not many apps out there may not have certain parameters that you want to the patients to be noting down. Here you can do that. The other one more, I have created a few apps, so I'm just going to go to one more app which I had created, was a baby tracker app. So it helps monitor immunization schedule of the baby. It can help you monitor the milestones, including all domains: gross motor, fine motor, speech, cognition, the growth. It can help you monitor the growth over time, whether the growth of the baby is well. Again, this is a personal app which a person himself can use it, obviously with disclaimer that if there is any abnormality, you always consult a doctor. But you can monitor your own immunizations, you can set reminders for your immunizations, and monitor the milestones as well. The third app which I would also want to showcase here is a logbook, where, as residents, we were required to note down cases. We were asked to note down what procedures we've done, what all daily activities we've done, totally logging the activities in case discussion, journal cup, ICU rounds, and the CMEs that we've attended, the teaching, what we've done, any publications that we've done, any assignments that we have attended. Uh, Again, like an digital logbook. Again, this is can be customized by just vibe coding, just using natural language model to see what all activities you want to be capturing, what all procedures you want to be capturing, and you can develop this kind of app and use it on your own mobile phones and keep logging in. Now I switch towards little bit of, like I had said, an educational app. So educational app, what I want to show is actually this is what I had designed to learn about birds. So whether uh, so this is just, you can always correlate it to a medical thing too. If you want to teach some medical aspects, I wanted to learn about birds, so I created a database about birds and gave it a visual format, made it into something like a game where I can always have a word scramble, and every time it reveals or gives me a hint, and I can learn about the birds as well. So these are smaller things which we can develop with just vibe coding. It can be for clinical purposes or for your personal purposes. When you want to learn something in a more fun way, you can always do that. And so there is no limitation to it. It is just what you can imagine or what you can speak about, and you can always create. So I'll just go back to my slides. So this is what I was talking about, vibe coding. So this has really created some personalized apps, some personalized tools which can help both learn, both capture certain things, and help in clinical cases as well. And so these were some of the apps that I had developed. This was what I wanted to show you about the neurologist side of dashboard, where you can have the number of patients which were there, any attacks which was there, how many total attacks they had, average severity, and you can always customize it to your liking. The next thing which I usually use the AI is for obviously research analysis. The Google Collaborate tool, using AI assisted research, AI assisted analysis. In fact, even it can help us even understand how the analysis of the things go. It's a great tool. And finally, in social media, to generate content for social media, AI generated trends, analyzing the trends, generating visuals, generating video. This is how all a clinician could help. What you can go further beyond this. You can explore basic coding. You can integrate language models, AI models into your personalized app platforms. You can use open source models onto your local platform, local AI, and create even agents. So what I would want to reiterate, portray and give the last message is, do explore AI tools. For your clinical question, AI might have an answer. Obviously, like my previous speaker, the eminent speaker who has said, you have to do it more responsibly. Also consider about data privacy. So you can love it, you can hate it, but you can't ignore it. Okay, so try building a simple app today. It's very easy. There are two platforms out there like Bolt AI and Replit, which can really help us help you create a simple app. And it's all about talking very simply to the AI app. Thank you.
That was really fantastic, Dr. Vishal, to see sort of the breadth of the AI related apps which you have done, and being in a high volume center. So it all just comes down to passion as such, and trying to identify the important questions, be it the baby milestone app coming from a personal need perhaps, to the headache app at work, and something out of passion and hobby for identifying birds. The question I actually wanted to ask you, you answered at the end. So you use one of these platforms, is it the Bolt or Replit, to create the apps?
Yes, so I primarily use Bolt AI for my vibe coding, which I had started. That's what I had started initially, and it uses basically Claude in itself. Like it has different models of Claude, different models of Gemini embedded in it, which actually does the coding for you.
And with regard to materials or sources, did you do a separate course on this, or how did that journey come about?
So it actually initially started off last year post my clearing my DM, where I had some free time and I really wanted to learn about AI. So at that time there were a lot of people offering courses. So I did use a lot of Google, because Google has free resources on using AI tools, getting the basics of AI right, prompt engineering, and some of them are they're actually very good, because it is all hands on. The Google learning platform is all hands on, so they actually want you to prompt and see that how you're prompting. And obviously there are other official learning options as well, like a lot of IIT Kanpur, IIT Madras is offering courses on AI in healthcare, and different branches also, not
And
just
all these were
healthcare.
online.
Yes, all these were online.
Right. Okay. I would now like to invite Dr. Rajvardhan. Like I said, a very passionate educator and someone who has done a lot of integration of AI in clinical workflow, something I encounter on a day-to-day basis when I visit his ICU. Um, Dr. Raj, we will just have you on stage very shortly. Um,
So I see a question on SKUL backend within minutes.
we will take that at the end of this thing. Dr. Raj, this
Okay.
stage and the screen is all yours. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. It was nice seeing how each one are using AI on their own, improving their skills as well as improving the outcome of the patients. Before I start my start my presentation, it's more about real time task how we are using. In fact, when we are doing this, I developed one software kind of app kind of thing, which I'll show you how we can make use of it. Basically, since we are concentrating on AI in rural care, I'll just show how to develop simple apps and how to use it at bedside. Before I start, I would like to give an example of a case where we used AI at a real time. It's basically an young gentleman who had come with encephalopathy, back pain, generalized body pain was there. Initially, our differential diagnosis was tropical infection, concerning he had a low platelet, he had encephalopathy, he had AKI, all the things which are fitting for like a tropical infection. But somehow things were not in sync. Okay, we are not able to diagnose what exactly was happening. That's where what we started is we started putting all the information. It's a de-identified information, just putting into Gemini. We use Gemini regularly. So each day, whatever the reports comes up, we have start putting into Gemini. Okay, patient went on worsening encephalopathy, which needed intubation and all. Where we did send hemoglobin electrophoresis because of two parameters. One is HB one is LDH was quite high, which is suggestive. LFT is suggestive indirect hemolytic anemia. Most of the workup came negative. Finally, when we keep putting information, Gemini show up an interesting possibility of patient having a sickle cell anemia with hemolytic crisis, with most likely a sequestration crisis with fat embolism causing encephalopathy, which we never thought of. To be frank, nobody will think of this kind of a diagnosis at the bedside. It is quite surprising for us when it showed up. Then we did few workup to confirm that diagnosis, which through that it is a sickle cell anemia with hemolytic crisis only. So finally, we were able to diagnose that patient. Nitin was closely involved with this patient. Finally, we did an exchange transfusion and patient recovered within 3-4 days. It's one of the example how we can use Gemini. You can say that it can give a lot of hallucination and all, but if you keep feeding the information which is relevant, which is important to your patient side, what we do is we'll create a when you're using personal app. We example will fold a one chat for a particular patient. We keep feeding that information, especially complicated cases, not straightforward cases. Complicated cases, we keep feeding the information. It gives a lot of new things which you'll be able to identify. So that's one of the interesting case. We are able to save the patient because it diagnosed sickle cell crisis with fat embolism. One more thing we use bedside is ICU and our assistant. So a lot of you say that it you have to remove the patient identifier. I agree. It may give a lot of hallucination, but one thing is it will help you in simplifying your work. But at the end, whatever the information it gives, it hallucinates. I will not say that it will not hallucinate. It hallucinates. What the information it has given, you have to make sure that it's accurate. What we'll do is here, there are a lot of things which will simplify. You can mention a patient weight here easily. You can maybe height, maybe 170 centimeters. See here, there are a lot of things it gives automatically is predicted tidal volume, how much should patient is on ventilator, how much should use the tidal volume, and nutrition requirement also it calculates. So here I put some clinical information of the
Dr.
patient.
Raj, your
I put a
screen is not
format daily
visible.
notes. As you can see here, it is generated by a colleague. Okay, for disclaimer.
Okay, it's visible now.
You're able to see my screen, all of you? Okay, it gives information like this ICU notes format where we generally use in our ICU ABCD format. It gives the information. Here, there are a lot of things you have to do is there will be some things which will not be mentioned. Example, respiratory rate, heart rate, and all. You have to change this patient according to your clinical scenario or according to your patient vitals at this point of time. It gives plan. It also gives certain recommendation. Whether you want to follow those recommendations or it left to you. Example, it gives clinical score so far because it's if you look at it bedside, it's difficult to calculate each one of them by your side. It involves a lot of time in calculating the SOFA score and aperture scores. The advantage of using AI is it simplifies your work in doing this. Okay. So it gives also modified our suggestions what we can do to improve. As example, electrolyte monitoring, post dialysis, you have to monitor the lactate, creatinine. You need to do a POCUS. So these are the things which it will mention. This is one of the ICU handover we use at the bedside each day. ICU notes or ICU handover. So other thing I developed last 1 hour when this session was going on, a shock resuscitation simulator. It involves a lot of findings, basically hemodynamics as well as echo findings. What you can do is it's developed last 1 hour only. As you can see, patient is having a BP which is low. So systolic is 80, maybe diastolic is around 60. Okay, you can put a heart rate of 20. It gives pulse pressure, shock index, modified shock index, and diastolic. These are the newer shock index which are coming into role. So clinical signs of perfusion, here we have put S for everything, altered mental status, lactate, decrease urine output, and infection. So what you can do is, if you've done echo, you can put that. I'll put echo as maybe EF of 25%, VTF around 10, EF E by E ratio, that is the suggestion of diastolic filling pressure 18. What you can see here, it is given a diagnosis as cardiogenic shock based on the parameters. And there are a few more things it gives is better to limit the fluids, okay, based on the clinical condition. At this point of time, looking at this, so what it says is, rather than kind of going on Noradrill, it's better to consider dopamine or milrinone. What I've done is, I've also asked you to add an evidence. Example, here, Doramin which is considered an example in case of cardiogenic shock. And if escalating vasopressors are required, we can consider norepinephrine or epinephrine. Basically, because the trials which is done, Optima CC, we showed that more mortality is there. So one more important thing is if escalating requirement is there, especially in a patient like this, we can consider mechanical circulatory support in case of ECMO and IABP. There are a lot of things which are mentioned like this. You can consider advanced cardiac output monitoring by using pulmonary catheter and all. So these are the things which will give you, if you develop this app at the bedside, you don't need to ask anybody for permission or anything. So these are the simple apps which you can develop at the bedside. So one more thing I'll show you is, as Doctor already told, you can use it by hosting in few of the web, Bolt and all. What generally I use two website to host it. One is Netlify. Other one is I use GitHub. These are two popular software systems I used to host. For helping you, a few of you, I can see that I'm still developing few apps here. One more thing I'm trying recently is Google A Studio. I'll not go into this. It's basically I'm trying to develop an ABG app where you can just putting a photo, it will be able to tell you that what is the diagnosis also. Hopefully, in another few days, I'll be able to develop this app. So one more thing is what you can do is, see here, it has developed an app. Okay. So this is an app which I developed. It is using Gemini. Okay. What you can do is you can go to the code. A code will be given here. What you can do is simply you can copy all the code for your purpose. Now, for making for sharing to make it easier. Then what you do is either a MacBook or whatever the desktop app you have. You have to download something as text edit. Okay. In that, what I do is I'll just copy it in the text edit, open a new folder, make it a plain text. Okay. I'll just save. I'll just save in the maybe a desktop only. I'll save it. I'll label it as uh, HD app. Okay, hd.html. Okay. This is how you're going to say. You have to save it in HTML format when you save it in the desktop. So I'll just show you. Okay. Sorry, I think some mistake has happened. So that's how you're going to do the apps at the bedside. Only is always make sure that you save it in HTML format. This is how a lot of apps are developed. So every day, to be frank, you can develop each one app every day, but I won't recommend it. Whatever is important to you at the bedside. Example, here IC handover. These are important, especially if you're not well versed with the managing hemodynamics. If you're in a rural ICU, you want to understand how to manage better. You can use this hemodynamic apps or shock resuscitation simulator. Only thing is, without knowledge, if you try to use it, it might be harmful. But always, you is somebody who is understanding the basics of it. It's better to be there. Example here, I have one more scenario. It is basically developed as distributive shock. Here it says that you have to give oxygen. It's a distributive shock. You have to give antibiotics. You have to send cultures. And one more most important thing it is also recommending is giving fluid boluses and the starting of noradrenaline in this patient. So there are a lot of small things which you are supposed to do at the bedside to make sure that all these are working. Okay, I do one more thing is teaching students for the exam. Example nowadays, ASCII scenarios is something which is important in most of the Indian exam as well as foreign exams. I do my teaching for foreign exams, especially from the critical care. It is known as EDIC coaching. I do. I'll just show you one of our scenario which I've done. Basically, it's an obstetric critical care scenario. What I've done is here I've given a scenario basically of preeclampsia. So here a lot of labs will be there. So with that labs, the student have to diagnose. Okay. So in fact, I've done an option where they can record the answer also. So if they're not able to answer, it will reveal the model answers, what they're supposed to answer. Yeah, this here, I have mentioned the preeclampsia. Then what are the differentials for this patient? It includes HELP as well as sepsis. So it will go on asking different questions. Okay. So we can allot marks to that based on what they have answered also. If at the end, what we can do is once all the scenarios is done, example here I have vignettes, different vignettes, which is generally the OSCE models, which is used in different exams. As you can see here I'll give a next vignette and associated questions related to that. So there'll be questions like that. And then you can see the summary and marking. So whatever they have answered, based on that, there'll be answers will be given. Or even if they have not answered also, what you should say is what is the expected answers from this patient. Example, metal stabilization, fetal stabilization. What are the learning points, how to approach an answer. These are the things which will be given here. Okay. So especially when you're teaching somebody, these are the tools which are going to help you in teaching in a better way. There are a lot of tools I use every day to improvise it. Okay. So I just don't want to take you more time. Just I'll show you this one. Here, what you can do is, as already told, it's very important that patient identifier should not be there. In ICU and our assistant, generally we if required, if you're not sure, you can add the image also to it, analyze it. ECG also you can add. But as you know, it is as good as it knows about interpretation. ECG is something it is very difficult. To be frank, Gemini I've used for ECG, it is not learned enough at this point of time. You can't rely Gemini to analyze the ECG at this point of time. ABG does a good job, labs does a good job. Even imaging it does a relatively good job, not with the ECG at this point of time. So as you can see here, we have put a notes. Or if you want to give a handover in the form of ISBAR, all of you are aware of ISBAR format, new handover. We'll give the ISBAR format handover also. So as you can see here, it gives in ISBAR format. Identification, situation, it's the format where everybody gives handover to make it easier for them to understand what is the context. As you can see here, it's basically cardiac shock with dilated cardiomyopathy. At this point of time, they also mentioned that patient is in volume overload, aka hypokalemia. Patient also is on oxygen. Background, it mentioned that patient is on hemodialysis. Assessment, it also mentioned here that its patient is improving. It is transition from cold and wet to warm and wet type. All this information is documented. Here it also mentions that you can give dopamine. But at the end of the day, I told you, it's not reliable 100%. Whatever it gives, as a physician, you have to look at the bedside and you have to make sure that those are accurate. Don't cut and paste this information onto your notes. That is one dictum I have. I keep telling my residents, even though we have developed this app, we keep telling that don't blindly rely on this handovers and all. You have to physically check whether it's given whatever is accurate or not. It may decrease your working your writing time. Maybe this, if you write in detail, it might have taken maybe 10-15 minutes. It will reduce it to 2 to 3 minutes. But if you're not double checking or cross checking it, it may cause more harm. You might rewrite entire thing again and again. So use it with a pinch of salt. Don't rely it blindly. Always check it and recheck it, whatever the information it gives when you're using at the bedside. For teaching, definitely it is the best tool I've encountered. Okay, to be frank, I literally make one app or one software literally every day to make sure that my teaching, because I have a teaching program, I make sure that they use it and they improvise upon it each day. So that's what I'll tell you. Use it AI. Make sure that, especially from learning perspective, it's a gold standard. But if you want to use it at the bedside, take it with a pinch of salt. Check it, cross check it, make sure that your patient identifiers are not there at the bedside. That's that. Anybody wants to add upon it? Hi, Dr. Vishal. Maybe they are coming up, but at this point of time, from the Gemini perspective, it is not good enough. Okay, wait and watch before using it. Maybe if there are ECG specific tools are there, definitely you can use it. Gemini or ChatGPT, definitely no at this point of time.
Right. Yeah, I think really fabulous work, Dr. Rajavardhan, as I've been seeing it for the past 1 or 2 years. And really, the ICU handover notes has really played a huge role, I can see, in day-to-day practice on
Somehow
the
I'm
way.
not able to hear you, Nitin. Some issue is there. I'm able to hear others.
The others are able to hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah. I think Dr. Raj has heard me enough times in Manipal ICU. I think it's a good thing he's not hearing me right now. But anyway, I think fabulous job there by him. I think we have almost close to 70 to 80 people who have stayed with us through the course of this 2.5 hour, almost reaching 2.5 hours, and that really shows the interest. We had almost 200 registrations. Dr. Vishal, one question which came to you was the migraine app that you developed. Was it for both doctors and patient to see, or was it only for the doctor?
Yeah, so the patients can see only the individual what they have entered, and the doctors. Yeah.
So you have the dashboard of every patient,
Yes.
but for the patient, it's alone.
Yeah, the three dashboards in it: the admin, the doctors, and the patient's dashboard.
Right. Dr. Raj, are you able to hear me still or no? I think we'll have to post the question in the chat box. For some reason, he's not able to hear me. If someone can ask Dr. Raj the question that I'm asking, which is, how much time did it take for him to develop these apps, and does it take any other training?
Dr. Raj, can you hear me?
Nitin, I don't think he is able
The thing is, always what I do is I try to develop these apps, but I don't give it to others when I develop this. What I try to do is I'll keep using it again and again each day, because when I use it, then only I realize that its limitation of it, how to improvise it each day. That's how, see, nothing is perfect at one point of time. Always use it, keep using it. It'll realize that, oh, there are some mistakes is there. I could have improvised it better. I could have done that. I could have done this. So at least before one, I'll say that once you develop an app, use it maybe a month or 2 months before you start using it, before you start giving it to somebody else. That's what my recommendation is. That's what I follow. Okay?
Did you
It's
provide
not at one point of time, it's using it again and again.
Did you provide the evidence material for the management of shock, or did it pick it up off the internet?
So you asked one more question regarding the management of shock. I told you for this, no, using generalized internet information is something which is going to be double-edged sword because it picks up, it hallucinates a lot of things. What generally, if you want to develop an app, what I would suggest is use Notebook LM, because with Gemini you can directly link it to Notebook LM. So whatever information you give it to Notebook LM, you get cross-link as a reference to the Gemini so that it can develop an accurate app rather than just picking random things from the internet. That's what is always a better thing. That's what I do it. Okay, that's what I would suggest to others also.
Right. Fantastic. I think tomorrow, rather than me doing the Notebook LM session, I think we should just have it interactive with everyone joining in and showing one piece of way with which Notebook LM has been used. Thank you all so much. Any closing comments, Dr. Jaideep, Dr. Avneesh?
Yeah, I think I really wanted to stress
So one more,
that
if
these
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear others. If one more thing I would
we
like
can
to
hear
tell
that.
is uh, now agentic AI is coming up. Gemini is something which is straightforward. It's just an AI. If you want to use agentic AI, anti-gravity is the thing to go. If you learn anti-gravity, I would say that it will solve most of the issues. I started using anti-gravity recently. It's an agentic AI app. Please use it. It does a better job than Gemini because it keeps on checking information, whatever you've done, it's working or not also. So anti-gravity is the best thing. It's the next step in going forward from Gemini and ChatGPT. You want to upgrade yourself, use agentic AI. You will be able to understand better and it does a better job.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. I think just again, sort of warning thing is uh, please rely on human intelligence more and continue to do that and use only computers and the to augment, right? So just to supplement you, because these things are still in the development and the research stage. Yes, they make life very easy, but they are not a replacement as of now. Will there be a replacement in 2030? Most probably. Will there be a replacement in 2040? Definitely, right? So please learn more, uh, try, and definitely, uh, make sure that you're providing the best that is there for the patients. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Dr. Jaideep has summarized it quite nicely, and the car example is the best. The car goes fast when it has brakes, not the other way around. So I think the more you use these things, try to use them in a safe way or a safe environment first. And of course, you have to keep experimenting to keep learning. Be innovative. Always think how you can use it better, more effectively, and always start with your problem or what you are trying to solve, and always think whether AI is actually needed to solve that problem in the first place. Sometimes we try to kill mosquito with a nuclear bomb. That should not happen. There are some tools already existing out there which are making things very easy, but do you need a customized tool for that? If yes, then definitely go build it. But then validate it also, and be careful with patient data. As Dr. Jaideep said, I think 13th May 2027 is the date where DPDP becomes like enforced. And if anything happens beyond that, and I think that applies in retrospect also. So be very careful now with data, digital data, and try to anonymize it and then use it. I think more we do it, more we learn, and definitely examples will be set when the act comes into force. That will help us to learn more. So see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow is a great day. We'll build upon whatever we learned today, and demo on Notebook LM and panel discussion. So we are really looking forward.
Thank you all so much. It was a fantastic session today. I hope all of you watching it have also gained a lot. Always feel free to type into the comments or reach out to us, even if you're watching the recorded version of this. I know that both Dr. Jaideep and Dr. Avneesh have also a passion for mentoring and have also mentored many individuals across the country. Thank you once again. Thank you, Dr. Vishal, Dr. Rajvardhan, for taking time off busy schedule. Dr. Meka, of course, as part of the St. John's Alumni Association, for collaborating this with me and making sure that it reaches out to a lot of people, almost 250 registrations and almost close to 100 people staying till the end of the program. I think that speaks volumes about how much AI is actually making the impact as such. Tomorrow's session, or the part 2 of this session, is going to focus on research and publication and notebook LM. And more importantly, we are going to hear words of wisdom or words of reflection on the journey of AI as a career itself. What is the scope? How does one get into it? Is it lucrative enough? What are the pitfalls that come along with it? All that tomorrow. So see you again at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you all so much once again on behalf of the St. John's Medical College Alumni Association.
Bye.